Okay, that is it. I'm done. My eyes are on fire. I can't see a thing. This kitchen is a full-blown crime scene, and this onion right here, it's our prime suspect. Somebody call in the expert. I'm on the case. And you're absolutely right to call it a crime scene. But here's the twist. The victim isn't you. It's the onion. Those tears, you're just collateral damage from its secret weapon.
All right, let's get right into it. The big question we're investigating today is why? Why do these things make us cry? And I'll give you a hint, it is no accident. We're talking about a calculated chemical act of self-defense that nature has been perfecting for millions of years.
Okay, so to solve any case, you need to understand the motive, right? Think about it. An onion grows underground. It can't run, it can't hide. It's basically a sitting duck for any hungry predator, from tiny microbes to insects. So what did it do? It evolved to fight back. It developed this incredible form of chemical warfare. It literally makes its own tear gas.
Now this is where it gets really clever. Check out how the onion stores its arsenal. It's like a high-security facility inside every single cell. You've got the ammunition, these sulfur compounds it sucks up from the soil, stored in one place. And then you have the trigger, this enzyme called Alliinase, locked away in a totally separate little room, a vacuole. As long as those walls stay up, everything's cool, totally stable.
So, let me guess. My knife is the burglar that comes in and smashes down those walls. You got it. The second your knife slices into that onion, you've breached the security system. The fuel and the trigger, they suddenly mix, and that, my friend, unleashes an incredibly fast and furious chemical reaction. And it all happens in a split second. First, that trigger enzyme, Alliinase, attacks the sulfur compounds. Bam! It makes this intermediate chemical. But wait, we're not done. A second enzyme, a real specialist, jumps in and instantly converts that stuff into the gas that flies up into the air.
And this second enzyme, well, it's the real mastermind of the whole operation. It's called Lachrymatory-factor synthase. Let's just call it LFS. For ages, scientists thought the first enzyme did everything. But nope, LFS is the specialist. Its only job is to create that tear-jerking gas. And the wildest part? We only figured this out pretty recently.
Wait, 2002? Are you serious? Humans have been chopping onions for thousands of years, and we only figured this part out, what, like 20 years ago? That's crazy. Yep, that's right. A team of Japanese scientists finally cracked this piece of the puzzle back in 2002. They were the ones who put a name to the LFS enzyme.
So, now that we know the whole process, we can finally name our chemical culprit. It's a gas called Syn-propanethial S-oxide. And because this gas is so light and volatile, the second it's made, it just floats straight up from the cutting board and makes a beeline for your face.
And this is the climax of our investigation. The weapon has been launched. The gas is in the air. So now let's look at what happens in that split second when it hits its target, your eye.
Okay, brace yourself for this one. That gas, the Syn-propanethial S-oxide, it mixes with the natural moisture, the water that keeps your eyeball wet, and it forms, get this, a very, very, very dilute version of sulfuric acid.
Whoa, hold on. Acid? Are you telling me I'm creating sulfuric acid in my own eyeball every time I want to make a salad? That is absolutely insane. I had no idea my kitchen chemistry was, well, that intense.
I know, it sounds super dramatic, but don't worry, your body has an amazing response system. That tiny bit of acid immediately irritates the nerves in your cornea. Your brain gets this urgent message, like an alarm bell, and it tells your tear ducts, floodgates, open, now. So those tears aren't from sadness, they're reflexive tears. They're an emergency flush designed to dilute that acid and wash it right out. It's just your body doing its job, protecting you.
Okay, that makes sense. But are all onions equally guilty of this chemical assault, or are some of them bigger offenders than others?
That is an excellent question. It's time to bring in the usual suspects for a lineup. Because no, not all onions are created equal.
So the evidence is pretty clear. An onion's power to make you cry all comes down to its sulfur content. As you can see here, your standard yellow and red onions, they're packed with sulfur compounds, making them super potent. But then you have sweet onions, like Vidalias. They're often grown in soil that's low in sulfur, so they just have less ammo to work with. And then you have the sun onion. It's a special variety that was literally bred to be tearless. It has no chemical weapon at all.
Wow. Okay, seeing it like this on a chart really drives it home. The difference between a yellow onion and a Sunion is just huge. One is a chemical weapon powerhouse and the other is completely disarmed.
All right, I've had enough of crying in my own kitchen. Give me some practical advice. How do I fight back? How do I disarm this thing before it even has a chance to attack? Happy to oblige. Let's move on to countermeasures. There are a lot of myths out there, so we need to sort through the hacks that actually work and the ones that are just, well, fiction.
Okay, so science says these 3 things genuinely work. First, chill your onion. Pop it in the freezer for 15, maybe 30 minutes. The cold slows down those enzymes, making the whole reaction way less intense. Second, use a really sharp knife. A sharp knife slices cleanly through the cells instead of crushing them, which means less gas gets released. And finally, ventilation. A small fan, an open window, anything that physically blows that gas away from your face before it reaches your eyes.
So wait, the whole holding a piece of bread in your mouth thing is useless? My grandma swore by that trick. I hate to be the one to tell you, but yeah, it's a myth. The bread doesn't actually absorb the gas. It's the same deal with lighting a candle next to your cutting board. It might look cool, but it does absolutely nothing to stop that acid-forming reaction in your eyes.
And that just about wraps up our investigation. But before we close the case file, let's take a quick look at the future. And I have one really important final warning for you.
Believe it or not, the future is looking tearless. The Sunion we talked about was made using traditional crossbreeding, but now scientists are using biotechnology to take it a step further. They're actually working on ways to silence the LFS gene, the gene that makes the tear gas enzyme, in all onions. A world without onion tears might be closer than we think.
And this next part is so important. We've been talking about this chemical defense as a minor annoyance for us, but for our pets, it's a completely different story. Exactly. This is a critical safety warning. Onions are genuinely poisonous to dogs and cats. That same defense mechanism can cause a very serious, even life-threatening type of anemia in them. So please, whatever you do, never feed your onion scraps to your pets.
Wow! So what I thought was just a simple kitchen annoyance is actually this incredible masterclass in evolutionary chemistry. We're talking about a plant that designed its own sophisticated acid-forming weapon system. Exactly. So we'll leave you with this one last thought. Now that you know its secret weapon and the incredible science behind it all, do you respect the humble onion just a little bit more? I know I do.